Hello and welcome back to Sonic Saturday, the show where I'm making my way through every single Sonic game. Thanks to my job, it's been a few weeks since we've been able to look at any new games, but I think today's episode is probably one of the most important ones since the Sonic 2 episode. Today, we're looking at Sonic's supposed rough transition into 3D, Sonic Adventure. Let's go. Now, before I fully get into my thoughts, I want to make a few things clear right out the gate. This may cause some controversy, but for the purpose of today's video, I'm playing DX on the GameCube. I know it's considered the worst version, but I do not have access to a Dreamcast or hardware good enough to access it elsewhere. So, this is what I could get. Secondly, I fully beat Sonic's story and then played most of, if not all, of everyone else's stories. With those 2 points out of the way, I can move on. I'm conflicted on this game, and I think a lot of my problems could be fixed by tracking down a Dreamcast copy. With that in mind, beyond any of my personal problems with the game, just by experiencing it, I fully understand just how important and impressive this game would have been in its time for both gaming as a whole and Sonic as a franchise. Yeah, it might not be Super Mario 64, but this is the perfect image of the early 3D era, and I can't even imagine how good these graphics would have looked to kids at the time. The biggest issue I had with this game was the movement. The controls, as a whole, were fine, but I felt like Sonic especially was way too sensitive. I didn't get this too much with anyone else, but maybe Tails, but it felt like the second that I even touched the joystick, I was halfway across the arena in a blink. This was at its worst in the adventure zones, since they're a lot more open air than the stages, so it was easier to go flinging around them. In the stages, though, I really didn't feel like it was that big of an issue, seeing as a lot of them, while having splitting paths to take, are a lot more railroaded, so being so erratic isn't as big of a problem. Speaking of stages, these are some of my favorite ones I've played in the franchise so far. I love the big set pieces like the Whale and Emerald Coast, to the fantastic boards of Casinopolis, and my personal favorite, the snowboarding in Ice Cap. All of them were so well designed, and I loved the pure scope of all of them. There were some, for sure, that I was super confused as to where exactly it wanted me to go, but there weren't any stages I outright hated. In terms of side stages, I loved playing the tornado missions because I felt like the air combat was surprisingly well done. Now, I know this is at least somewhat an issue with the GameCube DX version, but there were some times where the graphics were a little jank, particularly in the lip syncing, as Sonic in particular sometimes stretches his entire head to say certain things, as does Tails. Aside from the lip syncing, I do really like these designs for the characters. This is my favorite version of Eggman, and Chaos is awesome. One of the main things I enjoyed that I felt this series needed more of was the interesting boss fights. Like, yeah, they may still just be jump and hit, but some of the areas and attack patterns made these ones actually fun to fight beyond the 2D games simply being Eggman fights over and over again. Especially with Chaos, getting to open with one of the stronger forms of it, and then watch and fight it again and watch it grow and change was super fun. I think my favorite way to play across all of the characters was the tail stages, where you have to beat Sonic in a race. I really appreciated that none of the stages hinder you at all in what you're capable of doing, so it's easier to just jump off the side of the stage and use Tails' floating ability to basically finish in one move. The ring's especially true for Wind Canyon, where although I wasn't able to make it happen, there is a way to simply float down the entire stage without having to do a single other bit of the level, straight from the start. I don't know how intentional this was, but it adds a lot of fun into the levels. I think Sonic Adventure is a super important game to both the franchise it hails from and gaming as a whole, and I'm extremely happy that I've now got to play it. Past this point, we're getting back into the more important Sonic games for the most part, so I can finally fully reap the point of this series on the channel. And Sonic Adventure was a great way to start that. I had a lot of fun with this game, and regardless of a few flaws here and there, it's still super easy to love. Next week, we take a slight diversion into a party game, but very soon we'll be playing the game that I think I'm most excited for, Sonic Adventure 2. What did you think of Sonic Adventure? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe while you're down there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.